I live in a dorm room with 3 other roommates, and everyone uses the trash. Everyone wants the trash to be taken out, but taking the trash out takes effort. It's heavy sometimes, it's smelly, and it's just annoying. So everyone waits and waits and waits and waits. The trash keeps piling up, and not because we want the trash to keep piling up, but everyone is hoping that someone else will eventually take out the trash. And this is the collective action problem. But what is collective action? Collective action refers to the pursuit of a common objective or goal by groups of individuals. Typically, the objective is some form of public good, which is non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Non-excludable meaning that the good is available to everyone and one person cannot stop someone else from benefiting, and non-rivalrous meaning that one person's use of the good does not prevent someone else's use of that same public good. Democracy is a public good. Clean air is a public good. Street lights, national defense, lighthouses, fresh water, emergency services. These public goods are desirable. Everyone wants them, everyone benefits from them. But if everyone benefits from them, why does collective action in pursuit of these goods often not materialize? Collective action fails for a few reasons. One of those being that people do not trust others to participate. If my roommates don't take out the trash, why do I have to take out the trash? Another reason that collective action fails is because sometimes, even if everyone benefits, the personal cost will feel much greater than the personal benefit. This is why people hesitate to join or don't join at all. Lastly, larger groups are just harder to organize, they're harder to coordinate, and the more people there are, the less inclined people are going to feel to actually take charge. So responsibility is kind of just all over the place, and it could be a little chaotic and a little disorganized. So as we can see, all of these failures have to do with people feeling or having very little incentive to participate or contribute. And this is what takes us to our free rider problem. The free rider problem refers to when an individual enjoys the benefits of a group effort without actually having to participate. Since they know they'll still benefit or be rewarded, they often have very little incentive to contribute. For example, here we have 4 people protesting for free buses. The person in the house also wants free buses, but they didn't feel like they needed to go out and protest with them. If the protest is successful, this person knows that they will receive free buses too, and they didn't have to put in any of the effort to achieve that outcome. Speaking of protests are the most visible form of collective action, even though they aren't the most common, but this makes them a great example. In his book, Democracy and Disorder, political scientist Sidney Tarot writes assumptions about protests, and there are a few that I want to mention in particular. The first assumption is that protests address the issue directly rather than going through another political channel like voting. So instead of waiting, they are taking their wants, their demands straight to the streets. Another assumption is that protests are disruptive. They are meant to disrupt everyday routine. They are meant to disrupt economic progress. So protests do not have to be violent. They can be sit-ins or marches, strikes, but they are noticeable in some type of way. Okay, so how do these protests relate back to the free rider problem and collective action as a whole? So let's say there's a particular protest size at which one individual is willing to actually participate in that protest. We can refer to this size as a revolutionary threshold, which is the minimum size a protest has to be in order for someone to participate. And everyone has their own individual thresholds. For example, someone might just need to see one person standing outside with a sign protesting in order to join them, but someone else may need to see 30 other people protesting in order to join them. Let's illustrate a simple model. Let's say we have a country or a group or society. I'm going to call this country A, and this country has 10 citizens. I'm going to give each citizen a number, and this number is going to correspond to the number of protesters that they would need to see protesting in order to join them. So the first person here, their number is 0, which means they do not need to see anybody outside protesting in order to start protesting themselves. However, the next person's number is 2, which means they need to see 2 other people protesting in order to start protesting. However, there's only 1 other person, so this person will never end up joining him. The next person also needs to see 2, so again, they will not join at all. The next person needs 4, 6, 7, and so on. So in the end, there will only be 1 protester. So this would not be considered a successful protest, or it would not be a protest that would lead to a successful outcome, and most definitely would not lead to a revolution. Okay, now let's do another example that leads to a different outcome. So I'll call this country B. And country B also has 10 citizens. And the numbers, again, correspond to the number of other protesters they need to see protesting in order to join them. Again, the first person does not need anybody else outside protesting in order to start. So we have 1 protester out already. Next person only needs to see 1 other person. So, since we have our first person here, the next person is going to join. The next person who needs to see 2 people, well, we have 2 people, so they're going to join. The next people needs to see 3 other people, well, we have our 3 people, so they're going to join. And this is going to continue on till we get to our 10th citizen. So unlike our last example, every single citizen in this country, country B, is participating in the protest. And this is known as a revolutionary cascade. So as we can see, country B's outcome is more successful than country A's. And country A's outcome is a very good example of the collective action failure. And everyone in country A wants to see some type of change, but since they not see enough people acting, they're not going to act as well. And unfortunately, that public good or that thing that they want to see change is never going to be achieved. Ultimately, wanting the same thing is not enough to see change. And collective action often fails because participation in protests, for example, never really reaches the thresholds it needs to reach in order to get others to join. In country B, people's thresholds were met, which triggered their willingness to participate. Collective action succeeds when we believe that our participation will actually matter and actually lead to change. So, if you and your roommates want the trash taken out, someone's going to have to do it eventually.